Hi everyone, welcome back to FPL Moneyball, where we use data analysis to come up with the best players for your fantasy Premier League team. Today we are returning from the international break and taking a look at our Game Week 8 team selection video. So let's jump right into the video. So let's analyze the forwards first. There are two standout options for me right now, and they are both Haaland and Voltemade. Both of these players have demonstrated extremely high price per million as well as expected goal involvement per 90, and so these are the players to watch out for. Although Voltemade has played a fewer games compared to Haaland, so we'll see his statistics may be less accurate as of this current game week, but nevertheless he does have a very high points per million of 5.83, which is the highest among the forwards, and that is why he is all the way on the right hand side of this chart. Haaland leads in terms of the expected goals involvement per 90 at 1.25, and is twice the amount of the next highest striker, Mateta, at 0.7. So he does receive a lot of goal scoring opportunities and will continue to score points for your FPL team. Both of these players face a very interesting and very good fixture this game week. Haaland facing Everton at home, so a lot of potential to score goals. And Voltemade faces Brighton away, which have a very leaky defense this season, so also a chance for him to score goals. The next bucket of forwards will be those in the tier 2 range, and these are slightly less attractive, and they are Thiago from Brentford, João Pedro from Chelsea, Isidore from Sunderland, Bowen from West Ham, and Richarlison from Spurs. So briefly, I'll cover that I like João Pedro the most out of these options, as he does have the easiest fixture against Nottingham Forest away this game week, which have struggled recently with their new manager, and they look very leaky at the back as well with a few defensive injuries. So although João Pedro hasn't been on the best of form, I do think that he faces a very easy opponent that could concede a few goals, and this is a chance for him to regain his confidence this game week. Isidore also faces a very weak Wolves team, so also potential for him to score. Bowen's form has been improving recently, and he does face Brentford, and Thiago also on the opposing side of that game. So they are relatively weaker teams in this Premier League, so potential for them to also score goals. Lastly, Richarlison, he doesn't look very attractive at the moment because he's being rotated among other forwards such as Tel. So although he does have pretty decent stats, I wouldn't go for him at the moment. Lastly will be Gyökeres from Arsenal, Ekitike from Liverpool, and Mateta from Crystal Palace. Briefly cover Mateta has had quite a few goal scoring and goal involvement opportunities, but he hasn't managed to convert a lot of these opportunities. So maybe it's a confidence issue. Once he regains his form, he'll start scoring again. Ekitike faces rotation risk as well. With the signing of Isak from Newcastle, his minutes seem to be limited, and so he doesn't look like a very attractive option for me at the moment. And lastly is Gyökeres, who also, like Mateta, has received quite a few goal involvement opportunities, but hasn't been his best in terms of converting them. Although I do have him in my team, and I do think that he faces quite a good run of fixtures, so I'm still keeping hold of him this game week. So moving on to the midfielders, there are two top players here as well. They are Enzo Fernández from Chelsea and Semenyo from Bournemouth. Although Enzo is an injury doubt, I still expect him to start this game week against Nottingham Forest away, and playing in a more advanced position given the injury to Cole Palmer. His stats this season have been amazing, ranking very high in terms of the expected goal involvement at 0.62, which is among the highest among the midfielders. And so I do think that he does have potential to return this game week as well. Semenyo has been the star of this season in the midfield position, scoring the highest amount of points at 66 points already this season, and a high points per million of 8.35 as well, is leading the midfielders. Although he does face a sticky Crystal Palace defense this game week away from home, so his chances may be limited, but nevertheless, he does have amazing form, so I would back him to continue scoring. Next will be the tier 2 midfielders. Caicedo from Chelsea also playing against Nottingham Forest this game week. Anthony from Burnley faces a newly promoted Leeds team in a new promoted sides clash. So he does face a Leeds defense that have not been rather leaky at the back as well. Kudus from Spurs is my standout pick among the Spurs assets, as he is the only player with a nailed-on position for Spurs, with the other forward options being rotated. I think if you want to go for a Spurs asset, you should go for Kudus, as he also does have a pretty good conversion stats this season. Although his expected goals is not that high, he has continued to score a lot of points and convert a lot of his opportunities this season. Next will be Njai from Everton, who have been kind of mixed performances over the past few game weeks, and he does face a very solid Manchester City defense away from home, so a very tough fixture for him this game week. And lastly, Sarr, who recently returned back from injury and got an assist last game week, faces a Bournemouth side at home who have been rather solid at the back. So I think that he also faces a very tough opponent, but I would still back him in the long term, as he does have amazing stats this season. So the next few forwards that are less attractive to me will be Reinders from Manchester City, who hasn't had a lot of opportunities going forward. This season, despite the injuries to Rodri, so we'll continue to monitor his performance. Bruno Fernandes, who is on penalties for Manchester United, and he even missed a penalty against Sunderland, I believe. So, not against Sunderland, against another team this season. So, it's a pretty disappointing that he didn't manage to convert his penalty, but he will continue to receive chances this season. And lastly is Salah, who can't justify his price tag at the moment. He's putting in very average performances for Liverpool, and so given his price tag of 14.5 million, I can't justify owning Salah at the moment right now. So next, taking a look at the defenders, there are 4 standout options here right now. Double up Arsenal defense of Calafiori and Timber, or actually you could even go for Gabriel and Timber. Gabriel being slightly more expensive, of course, but Arsenal have been the most solid defense this season, with an expected goals conceded of 0.57, which is the lowest among all the teams. And they face a Fulham side away from home, which have struggled for goals this season. So next will be Dan Burns from Newcastle, who has the second best defense this season, with a 0.71 xGC per 90, facing a slightly more dangerous Brighton side, who have been rather sharp in attacking recently, although they do concede a lot of goals as well. So could be a very exciting game with a lot of goals, and I wouldn't think that Newcastle could keep a clean sheet actually this game week. Lastly will be Senesi from Bournemouth, who faces Crystal Palace away from home. So I do think that Crystal Palace do have the attacking quality going forward with the return of Sarr. So once again, the potential for clean sheets will be rather limited from my perspective this game week, but nevertheless good assets to hold this season based on their price per million and the expected goals conceded per 90. So the next few options will be Chalobah from Chelsea, who returns from his suspension and is facing a very weak Nottingham Forest side, who have also struggled for goals this season, with Chris Wood not being able to score a lot of goals, and I think their confidence is really low at the moment. So I do back Chelsea actually to keep a clean sheet this game week against Forest. So I would actually put Chalobah in my team this game week. Next will be Gehi, who faces Bournemouth, and they do have Semenyo in the team, so I would likely avoid him at the moment. And lastly, Alderete, who faces Wolves at home, so also a pretty strong fixture for Sunderland this game week, although I think that defense hasn't really been tested this season against those top sides. so I wouldn't really back Sunderland's defense at the moment. Next will be the Van der Ven from Spurs, who faces a Aston Villa side at home. This is a pretty good fixture for Spurs, as Aston Villa have struggled for goals recently. Although Spurs' defensive performances have also slipped since the start of the season, hopefully they can regain their defensive form with facing a slightly weaker team this game week. Next will be Tarkowski, who faces Man City away, so definitely want to avoid that fixture this game week. And lastly, Van Dijk, who faces Manchester United at home. I do think Manchester United have that threat going forward with their new signing, so also a avoid for me at the moment right now. So lastly, looking at the goalkeepers, there are two standout options, Nick Pope and Royce from Sunderland. So I think Royce has the easiest fixture this game week against Wolves at home, although Pope does have the second best statistics in terms of the expected goals per 90, right after the next player, David Raya from Arsenal, who faces Fulham away this game week. Vicario also has a pretty easy fixture against Aston Villa at home, although Spurs defense have also suffered recently. Hopefully they can keep the clean sheet this game week. And lastly will be Pickford, who will be an avoid for me at the moment as he faces a very lethal Manchester City and Erling Haaland this game week. So taking a look at my game week 8 team selection actually, I do have a 4 at the back with a double up Arsenal defense of Calafiori and Timber. I'm backing Senesi as well as Chalobah to start in away fixtures against Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest. And I'm benching Dan Burn after he actually scored 11 points for me off the bench last game week. So pretty sad that I didn't start him last game week, but I do think that Newcastle very hard to keep a clean sheet against a Brighton side who have been pretty dangerous attacking wise this game week. So the midfield three will be Enzo, Semenyo, and Sarr. I do think that these players have very strong potential of providing attacking returns, and I will actually bench Dango, who hasn't started for Brentford, as well as Grealish, who is ineligible to face Manchester City this game week. And lastly will be the forward line of Gyökeres, Pedro, and Haaland. I think many people have been disappointed with Gyökeres and Pedro form recently, but hopefully with the easy run of fixtures, they'll be able to regain their form. And I'm captaining Haaland. There's a no-brainer there, continuing to back him based on his current form this season. So taking a look at the Game Week 8 watch list, the few players that you could target will be Caicedo from Chelsea, who has a very high points per million of 7.50. Although he does play in a very deep position and his expected goals are not that impressive this season, he has managed to score a few long-range bangers that have earned him quite a few points already this season. And he does have a favourable run of form against Nottingham Forest, Sunderland, Wolves, and Burnley, a lot of newly promoted sides. So strong fixtures for Chelsea ahead over the next 5 game weeks. Next will be Saka from Arsenal, who returns from injury. He hasn't had his best season so far in terms of points. With his injury, his minutes have been rather capped. Although he does have pretty impressive underlying expected goal involvement per 90, and given he's on penalties, and Arsenal do also have a pretty favourable run of fixtures against Burnley as well as Sunderland. I think that he could be one to look out for if you're looking for an Arsenal midfielder. Lastly will be Jarrod Bowen, who looks to be improving under the new manager Nuno. Also does have a favourable run of fixtures against Leeds away and Burnley at home. So he's a rather hit or miss option for me. So slightly less attractive than the other two options, but also a interesting differential for people who are looking elsewhere other than the big 6 teams assets. So that's it for my Game Week 8 team selection video. I hope you found this video interesting, and make sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for my Game Week 8 review coming up after the matches have taken place. See you next time.